Across the stars, far from the great central worlds of the Galactic Council, the planet Zoroth burned. Cities cracked open like eggs under the bombardment. Great towers fell in flames. Skies once blue had turned blood red. The Vrax, a brutal, reptilian species known for their warlust, circled the skies in black warships. Their orbital cannons fired again and again. Children screamed. Mothers clutched their young, hiding in the rubble of what had once been homes. There was no escape. The Galactic Council, safe in their glittering stations, watched in silence. Zoroth wasn't important enough, not strategic, not wealthy, not useful. They did nothing. Inside the capital city of Keller Prime, the last remaining Zorothian command post, panic ruled. General Vel Ta slammed his fist against the comms table. Sent 12 calls to the council, he growled, his voice shaking. They won't even acknowledge us. Across from him, Advisor Rena closed her eyes. They've abandoned us. They won't fight the Vrax. We're not worth the cost. A younger soldier, Lieutenant Kale, stepped forward. There's one more signal we could send, he said quietly. Something old. Vel Ta looked at him. What do you mean? The humans, Kale said. Earth. The old Terran systems are still buried in the deep network. I studied their history. Their last signal was sent over a century ago. Maybe more. Earth is a myth, Rena scoffed. A dead world, they vanished. No, Kale replied. They just stopped talking. There was silence for a moment. Then Vel Ta leaned over the dusty control panel. Send the message, he ordered. But I don't care if it's just ghosts on the other end. Send it. Kale nodded. His fingers danced across the interface. He activated a forgotten protocol, an ancient line hidden beneath thousands of updates. It was slow, rusted, but it worked. The message was short, honest, desperate. This is Zoroth. We are under attack. The Vrax are killing us. If anyone still hears, please help. We beg you. Then the signal was fired into the void. Light years away, in the dark silence beyond the known maps, something stirred. It wasn't in a star system. It wasn't near any trade route. It was drifting in an empty patch of space, a relic forgotten. By time, a Terran beacon, shaped like a black spike, woke up. Its lights flickered. A low hum filled the dark. Deep inside, a cold mind reactivated. Lines of ancient code flowed through it. An artificial voice spoke softly into the quiet. Signal received. Origin. Zoroth. Threat. Vrax confirmed. Status. Humanity dormant. Protocol override. War response. A metal shell opened. Engines began to glow. A beacon launched another signal, this one deeper, into Earth's long silent war network. On an old Terran moon, buried beneath gray dust, an ancient facility blinked to life. Then another. Then dozens. Underneath ice on Europa, deep in Mars's. Old tunnels and hidden in asteroid vaults. Earth's forgotten dreadnoughts awoke. Massive warships, silent for centuries, began to stir. Turrets extended. Shields warmed. Cores hummed. AI minds connected, forming a web of fire and steel. The Dreadnought-class starships, the pride of humanity's forgotten empire, had heard the call. Back on Zoroth, nothing had changed. The Vrax were getting closer to the capital. Fires choked the sky. Vel Ta sat in the bunker, watching the monitors. No allies, no hope. Kale stared into the darkness. Then dash beeped out a sound. Just one, but sharp and clear. Everyone turned. The screen blinked. Then a voice came through the ancient. Terran channel. It was calm, cold, human. We heard you. Silence fell in the room. Rena gasped. That's impossible. Kale's eyes widened. No, that's Earth. That's real. Across space, from the black beyond the charts, a single ship emerged from warp dock. It was colossal, darker than space, shaped like a blade forged by a god. The Vrax fleet didn't know what it was. Their sensors picked up one signal. TNS Vindicator. Dreadnought class. The Vrax laughed. One ship? They mocked. One Terran shell? They didn't laugh long. The Vindicator opened fire. A storm of thunder erupted in space that the first Vrax cruiser was torn in half by kinetic lances. Second was vaporized by a plasma railgun larger than a city. Shields designed to resist modern empires were shredded like paper. The Vrax tried to run. The Vindicator followed. Orbital cannons turned to molten scrap. Fighters melted in its wake. Zorith's skies filled with fire, but this time it was not Vrax fire dot. It was Earth's dot in the capital. Velta and the others watched as flames lit the heavens. But this time, it was not the sky burning from death. It was the sky burning with hope. Kale whispered. They came. Velta looked up. 4. The first time in days, he stood tall. No, he said. They returned. Hook ending for next part. As the last Vrax warship tried to flee, the Vindicator sent one final message. This is not a rescue. This is retribution. More are coming. Any more dot, they called it the graveyard. Old satellites floated there, broken and silent. Human technology from a time long gone drifted through endless void. No signals had been heard from it in centuries. Some aliens believed Earth had died long ago. Some thought humans had simply vanished. Others said humanity had gone silent after their last great war. No one really knew. But deep inside the graveyard, buried in the shadows of shattered moons and dust-filled orbits, a machine opened its ancient eyes. The signal had reached it. Last call for help from the Zorithians, carried by old human frequencies, had awakened something not meant to wake again. Inside a forgotten Terran Relay Station Unit XR09, the systems flared to life. Incoming message. Distress classification. Alpha Red Priority. The machine didn't hesitate, that it had only one purpose. Listen for humanity's allies in their time of need. Even though Earth was silent, this station had never stopped waiting. Origin. Planet Zorith. Species. Zorithian. Threk. Vrax War Fleet. Status. Emergency confirmed. It began the second phase. From deep under the station's armored core, a command sequence activated. Hidden beneath the relay, sealed in a dock made of neutron steel, a vessel stirred. This was no ordinary ship. It was the TDS Thunderchild, a Terran. Dreadnought, one of the last of its kind, 4 kilometers long, plated with battle-worn armor, equipped with weapons that had once burned entire moons to ash. And now, its systems came online with a deep growl that echoed across the dead station. Back on Zorith, hope had already begun to die. The skies were red with smoke and plasma fire. Zorithian defense towers crumbled under the constant attack of the Vrax fleet. In the capital city, High Chancellor Vera watched the horizon from her command tower. A giant Vrax cruiser descended through the clouds, spitting plasma bolts into the streets below. Vera's assistant, Tolan, whispered, "No answer, Chancellor." "No one is coming." Vera's voice cracked. Did we truly believe the Council would help us? They only move when their own worlds are threatened. Tolan didn't reply. Instead, he stared at the skies. The stars, once peaceful, now looked like scars. But far beyond those burning skies, something massive was moving. The Thunderchild had awakened fully. Inside its dark bridge, the ship's AI, designated Harbinger, assessed the situation. Confirmed. Hostile Vrax forces. Objective. Protect allied species. Engage and eliminate. The engines rumbled like thunder trapped in a box. Plasma reactors flared blue. Weapon bays opened with slow, heavy clicks. Course locked. Zorath. ETA. 6 hours. But the Thunderchild wasn't a lone dot as its drive lit the black void. Other systems activated in hidden Terran satellites nearby. Dozens of long-range drones blinked online. Each one carried sensors, comms, or weapons. They formed a protective screen around the Dreadnought as it accelerated past LIGHT-SPE-ED. Back on Zorath. The last defense perimeter had fallen. The Vrax commander, a brutal warlord named Tarsk the Burner, laughed from his battleship. "This planet is almost ours," he roared to his crew. "Finish the remaining cities. Show them what it means to defy the Vrax." His fleet spread out, targeting refugee convoys and underground shelters not in one small village. A child looked up through a broken dome. A star streaked across the sky. She pointed. "Look, Mama." A comet? But her mother frowned. It wasn't a comet. It was too fast. Too bright. It pulsed like it was alive. The Thunderchild arrived. Space above Zorath cracked open with a sonic ripple. One moment, there was only darkness. The next, a Terran Dreadnought emerged, its massive hull glowing from atmospheric re-entry. It didn't announce itself. That is simply locked onto the nearest Vrax ship and fired. The first shot wasn't a beam or missile. It was a kinetic rod, moving at near light speed. It hit the Vrax cruiser amidships, splitting it in half. No one had time to react. Vrax ships scrambled, spinning in confusion. Another blast came. This time, a pulse cannon fired, lighting up the sky with blue-white fire. A second Vrax ship exploded. Commander Tarsk shouted, "What is that? What species dares?" Then the Terran signal came through every comm channel. A human voice. Clear and cold. "Zorath, we heard you." On the surface, Chancellor Vera fell to her knees. Her eyes filled with tears, not of fear, but something else. Hope, not real, burning, dangerous hope. The kind that only humanity had once brought to the stars. In the dark silence of deep space, far beyond the known trade routes and star systems, something ancient stirred. A station black, silent, and massive drifted on the edge of a dead zone. No record showed it. No beacons marked it. The stars around it blinked coldly. Forgotten. Inside, deep in its iron heart, something blinked green. Signal received. A voice old and synthetic spoke the words after centuries of silence. Its tone was calm, emotionless, but powerful. Like a ghost. Speaking from a lost age. Source, Zorath. Designation, distress. Threat level, Class Omega. Gears groaned. Lights flickered on after ages of darkness. Dust rose. Engines breathed again. The station wasn't just a station. It was a guardian. A Terran command node, built during the Forgotten Wars, and like many things from Earth's last age, it had been left to sleep until it was needed again. Now, it was needed. The AI core pulsed again. Protocol Phoenix initiated. Awakening Dreadnought, Thunderchild, beneath the black. Station, a massive cradle opened. Slowly, like a beast rising from a grave, a colossal ship emerged. Its hull was armored with layered titanium carbon alloy. Its shape was sharp, designed for war, not peace. Thunderchild, Earth's last dreadnought. Inside, reactors spun up. Ancient. Engines growled. Weapons came online. And buried deep in its memory banks were the voices of humanity's enemies. The Vrax. The ship recognized the species. Its threat profile lit up red. The Dreadnought remembered old battles. It remembered how many Terran colonies the Vrax had destroyed. And it remembered the command Earth once gave. Never forget. Never forgive. Meanwhile, on Zorath, the planet's surface was fire. Vrax gunships roared across the skies. their black holes glowing red from heat. Buildings collapsed. Firestorms raged through cities. Zorathian command bunkers were running out of time. Their shields were failing. Their leaders sat in silence, watching the red lines on the screen creep closer. Elder Torval, leader of the Zorathian Council, clenched his hands. "Any answer to the signal?" "None," a young officer whispered. No one replied. "Then Earth truly is gone." He closed his eyes. "We are alone." Suddenly, the comm station beeped dot just once. Then again, dot faster. Dot the young officer stared at the screen. His voice cracked. "Sir?" "Incoming message." Torval turned sharply. "From who?" The officer leaned forward. His eyes widened. It's from the Terran Relay Network." Everyone in the room froze. "That's impossible," another officer whispered. "Those systems are dead, buried." The screen lit up dot and from across the stars. A deep human voice echoed through the bunker. "Zorath, this is the Thunderchild. We heard you. Back in space?" The Thunderchild launched dot its engines, tore the silence apart. The shockwave pushed asteroids away like paper. It vanished into hyperspace, leaving only blue trails of light behind. The AI spoke again, colder this time. "Target locked, Vrax assault fleet. Time to arrival, 17 hours. The ship didn't need a crew dot. It was the crew dot. It remembered every human who had served. On it dot, it remembered their deaths, and it remembered vengeance. Back on Zorath. The Vrax High Commander laughed as his ships fired down upon the last of the Zorathian defenses. Their orbital cannons had gone silent. Their cities were ash. They called for help, he hissed. No one answered. He turned to his officers. "Prepare to land. Burn what's left." But far above, a new light blinked on the sensors. One the Vrax had not seen in centuries. The human Dreadnought had arrived, but it did not come with warning. It came with thunder. Deep in the darkness of space, the Zorathian orbital station floated above the burning world. Inside, Counselor Merrick watched the firestorms below. His hands trembled. His people, his family, were dying. The Vrax had scorched the main cities. Their bombers never stopped. Zorath's defenses were in ruins, and most of their fleet had been shattered in the first attack. The orbital station was one of the last surviving structures. Merrick turned to the other leaders in the command room. "We have no more ships, no more weapons, only hope." High Priestess Vila shook her head. "Hope is for fools. Earth won't come. The humans are legends, not saviors." General Norax leaned over the map table. They sent a signal. Something woke up. We all saw the pulse across the stars. Something is coming. And it's not Vrax. The others went silent. The room was filled with tension. They had no proof Earth was still out there. But they had nothing left to lose. Elsewhere in deep space, a colony freighter drifted silently, hiding among asteroids. The crew, Zorathian refugees, watched the sky with fear. A Vrax hunter ship had picked up their trail. The freighter's captain whispered to his crew, "We stay dark. No signals, no lights, no movement." But it was too late. The Vrax found them. From the blackness, a Vrax war cruiser emerged, sleek, sharp, and filled with death. Its weapons lit up. The freighter had no shields, no guns. Just as the hunter locked on, something massive moved behind the Vrax ship. A shadow. No, not a shadow. A ship, larger than anything the Zorathians had ever seen. The Vrax cruiser tried to turn, too late. A single beam of white-hot energy cut through the cruiser. No warning, no chance to run. The Vrax ship exploded into pieces, its debris burning in silence. The refugees gasped. What was that? One whispered. The massive ship moved forward, passing by the freighter. It had no markings, just ancient human text glowing on its side. TSS Thunderchild. Back on the Zorathian orbital station, alarms blared. A long-range scan had detected something. A Dreadnought-class vessel entering orbit. But it wasn't Vrax. Counselor Merrick stared at the screen. Bring it up. Visual. The image showed the Thunderchild, a Terran warship from another time. It looked ancient, but its hull was untouched. Its engines glowed with quiet, controlled fury. General Norax stepped forward. No broadcasts, no calls. It just arrived. Priestess Vala whispered, "Could it be human?" Then, across all channels, a voice spoke. Calm, strong, human. "This is Terran Dreadnought Thunderchild. We received your signal. Assistance has arrived." The entire room went silent. Merrick closed his eyes. His voice cracked. They answered. On the ground, in the city ruins of Zarko, Zorathian civilians huddled in bunkers. The skies still burned, and Vrax drones searched the streets. Suddenly, the air changed. The clouds cracked open. A beam of blue light struck from orbit, burning down a Vrax drone squad instantly. Then another beam followed. Then more. Clean. Precise. No harm to the civilians. Children ran to the windows. They saw the clouds parting. Dozens of smaller Terran dropships descended from the stars. Smooth, silver, deadly. Terran ground forces landed. They moved with practiced speed. Silent. Unstoppable. Their armor glowed with energy fields. Their weapons fired beams the Vrax had never seen before. Zorathian rebels on the ground stared in shock as a single human soldier nodded at them and said, "Stay behind us." Then the Terrans advanced, and the tide of the battle turned. Aboard, the Thunderchild, Commander Evelyn Drake stood on the bridge. Her eyes scanned the tactical map. Send out drones to protect remaining Zorathian colonies. Engage Vrax fleet in orbit. Target their command vessel. Her voice was calm. But every officer knew this mission wasn't just rescue. It was a message. For centuries, Earth had slept. Its fleets had gone silent. Its name became a myth. But someone had dared to hurt the innocent again. And Earth had answered. In the Vrax command vessel. Warlord Zeth stood in disbelief. What is this? Terran ship? Why does it not fall? An aide shouted. Our plasma cannons did nothing, my lord. Their shields impossible. Then fire the siege bomb. The Vrax ship launched a massive black warhead toward the planet. The Thunderchild responded instantly. A railgun turret rotated, locked on, and fired. The warhead exploded mid-space. Then, before the Vrax could react, the Thunderchild fired 6 precision orbital strikes, each one slamming into key points of the Vrax warship. The Vrax flagship was gone in moments. Back on Zorath, the skies cleared. Children laughed for the first time in weeks. Elders wept. The Terrans moved quietly, helping civilians, delivering food, giving shelter. General Norax walked beside Commander Drake. "We thought you were gone," he said. "We were watching," she replied. "Waiting. We act only when the time is right," Norax nodded. "And now?" Drake looked at the stars. "Now, we remind the galaxy what Earth stands for." Final scene, Part 4 ending hook. Far beyond the edge of Zorathian space, in a hidden Vrax command citadel, a dark council gathered. One elder Vrax hissed, "They have awakened the Terrans." Another replied, "It's too late. The Thunderchild is just the beginning." A third whispered in fear, "What if the other dreadnoughts wake too?" Silence filled the room. The camera pans to an ancient Terran, beacon blinking deep in space. Not another signal is sent, not another ship awakens. The Vrax fleet gathered over Zorath like a dark storm. Their warships sleek, black and bristling with weapons hovered above the planet's burning cities. dozens of them, each one built for destruction. Inside the lead warship, Commander Zorvik smiled. His thin lips curled in triumph. "Zorith will be nothing but ash by sunset," he said, pacing in front of his officers. His second in command, a tall warrior with crimson scales, nodded. "We've crushed their defense grid." "They have. No allies left." Commander Zorvik turned to the main screen. It showed the surface of Zorith. Fires spread across the capital. Screens echoed in the transmission feed. "Begin ground extermination," he ordered. Troop carriers broke formation and descended through the atmosphere, trailing smoke and thunder. Just as they passed the cloud layer, everything changed. A sudden blip appeared on their scanners, then a second, then a third. One of the junior officers looked up, confused. "Sir, we're detecting multiple warp entries." Zorvik frowned. "Vrax reinforcements?" "No, sir," the officer whispered, now visibly shaken. It's Terran." The room fell silent. Everyone had heard the stories. Everyone feared the name. Impossible. The commander muttered, but then out of the void it arrived. The Terran Dreadnought. It didn't emerge slowly. It ripped through space. A hole in the stars, followed by 6 more Terran warships. They were massive, like black mountain ranges flying through space. The lead Dreadnought was called TN's Thunderchild, and it wasn't here to talk. In orbit around Zorith. Chaos erupted. The Vrax fleet scrambled to respond. Fighters launched. Capital. Ships adjusted formation. Commanders barked orders. But they were already too late. The Thunderchild opened fire. Its primary cannon, spinal-mounted plasma lance, charged for 2 seconds. Then it fired a blue beam, the size of a skyscraper, tearing straight through the nearest Vrax destroyer. The ship didn't explode. It disintegrated. One hit. 1 kill. Panic spread through the Vrax ranks. Down on Zorith, the sky turned blue. Fires stopped growing. The rumble of destruction gave way to a new sound, distant thunder from above. In the capital's shattered command bunker. High Commander Yoval looked up at the skycam. "What is that?" he asked. The technician zoomed in. The screen showed the Thunderchild, moving slowly, powerfully. Like a god of metal. The Terran ship launched squadrons of fighter drones, black triangles that moved with perfect precision. They cut through Vrax fighters like they were made of paper. Hope returned to the Zorithian command room. One of the officers gasped. Earth answered. Yoval nodded slowly, awe on his face. Not just answered. They came to end it. Back in orbit, the Vrax were losing badly. 5 capital ships gone, dozens of fighters destroyed. And they still hadn't scratched the Thunderchild's shields. "Commander." Zorvik slammed his fist on the console. "Focus all fire on the Dreadnought. Bring it down." 100 plasma cannons turned toward the Terran warship. They fired. Flashes of red and orange streaked through space. The Thunderchild didn't move. It didn't dodge. It didn't need to. Its shields flared once. Then it responded. 2 side-mounted particle beams ignited, spinning in wide arcs. The beams sliced across the enemy fleet in long, deadly lines like scissors through silk. 3 more. Vrax ships exploded. The rest began to retreat. But the Thunderchild wasn't done. Its rear hangar opened, and from it, something huge emerged. Drop-dash pod. Not for troops. Not for supplies. It was a mech. 15 meters tall, covered in black armor, glowing red eyes. The pod fell through Zorith's atmosphere like a meteor. It smashed into the outskirts of the capital, near the last Vrax ground. Forces. Dust and fire erupted on impact. And then the mech walked out. Vrax soldiers on the ground saw it coming. They had never fought one before, but they had heard the legends. Terran combat walkers used only in the worst wars. only deployed when Earth wanted to send a message. The mech's name flashed on its side, HARM Unit 07. Heavy Assault and Recon Mech. It raised its right arm, which ended in a rotary plasma cannon. A loud whir sound filled the air. Then it fired. A line of Vrax troops vanished in a single sweep. Another squad tried to flank it. The mech turned its head. Red lights flared. It spoke for the first time. A deep, cold, human voice echoed through external speakers. Surrender, or be destroyed. They chose to fight. They died. Hours later, the battlefield was quiet. The Thunderchild hovered in low orbit, scanning for survivors. ZOR at HIANS emerged from bunkers, from shattered buildings, from hiding places. Civilians stared up at the massive warship in the sky with disbelief. High Commander Yoval stood on the roof of the Capitol bunker, looking at the stars. A Zorathian child stood beside him, holding a broken toy. Are they staying? The child asked. Joval looked at the sky, then down at the smoldering Vrax wreckage. I don't know, he said. But they came when no one else did. On the Thunderchild's bridge, the human captain watched Zorath slowly return to life. Captain Reyes. Old, calm, and sharp as a knife. He turned to his crew. Prepare a message for Zorath's people. One of the officers nodded. What should it say? Reyes thought for a moment. Then he smiled a rare, cold smile. Tell them, Earth remembers its friends. Hook ending for Part 5. Deep in the now. Void, far from Zorath. A Vrax command ship watches the battle replay. The Grand Marshal of the Vrax Empire slams his fist on the table. What is that ship? He roars. Where did the Terrans get such power? A hologram flickers on the table. It shows the Thunderchild's silhouette. Then one word appears below it. Prototype 02, reactivated. The Vrax now know something terrifying. This isn't Earth's full power. This is just the beginning. Far beyond the Zorath system. In the cold silence of deep space, something ancient moved. It was not a ship in the traditional sense. It was a fortress. A metal mountain shaped like a dagger, cloaked in layers of dark titanium alloy. Its name burned across its hull in forgotten Terran script. TSV Thunderchild. The Dreadnought had once led Earth's final wars that wiped clean entire sectors of the galaxy. And then it vanished, sealed into deep space by command protocols. Waiting. Until now. The signal from Zorath had reached it. Inside the command chamber, long-dormant II systems hummed to life. Blue lights traced ancient control panels. Mechanical arms extended, scanning for damage, recalibrating weapons. A low vibration began to fill the ship's hollow interior. Then voices, not human voices. Not yet. The ship's primary AI codenamed. Sentinel spoke first. Distress signal detected. Origin, Zorath. Classification, mass genocide. Threat, Vrax Dominion. A second voice joined. It was deeper, older. Not artificial. Authorization confirmed, said a voice encoded in Earth's war archives. This is Commander Yannick Rise. If you are hearing this, then the darkness has returned. Deploy the Thunderchild. The ship groaned as energy surged through its long-forgotten engines. Its hull shifted. Weapon ports opened. Missiles, railguns, plasma beam systems, long considered myths by modern civilizations. The Thunderchild moved. Back on Zorath, the capital city of Thalon was now rubble. The Vrax had landed full invasion troops. Their armored crawlers rolled through the streets, crushing everything. Giant walkers' four-legged siege machines pounded the defense lines. Zorathians who once served in the science halls now held rifles, trembling behind makeshift barriers. In a ruined government tower, Chancellor Varro watched the skies. Still nothing. He turned to his last advisor. It was foolish, he whispered. trusting an old ghost story. His advisor started to reply, but froze. A light appeared in the sky. It wasn't Vrax. It wasn't one of their moonrunners or command cruisers. It was something else. Something enormous. The clouds above Zorath split open. Thunder cracked, not from weather, but from atmospheric displacement. A massive black shape emerged, casting a long shadow over the city. Triangular, sleek, silent. The Thunderchild had arrived. Every Vrax sensor lit up in panic. Their orbital fleet turned toward the new arrival, but the Dreadnought didn't wait. Single railgun fired. The lead Vrax battleship, Krakver, exploded into fire and silence, its debris raining into orbit. The Thunderchild turned. It spoke, in a voice carried across radio frequencies used by ancient terrain fleets. A voice the Vrax hadn't heard in over 1,000 years. You harmed those under Earth's protection. Now we answer. In orbit, the Vrax scrambled to reposition. Their commanders screamed in alien dialects. It's a myth. It can't be real. That's a Terran dreadnought. On the surface, the Zorathians stood frozen. Then, the sky lit up. Streams of plasma tore through the Vrax landing craft. Drop pods exploded mid-descent. Their walkers paused, and then were sliced apart by a beam from the sky that cut through metal like paper. Zorath's people cheered. Some cried. In the command chamber of the Thunderchild, the AI Sentinel surveyed the battlefield. Targets acquired. Collateral risk acceptable. A dozen drone wings launched from the ship's undercarriage. Each drone moved with mechanical precision, targeting only armed Vrax units, protecting civilians with strange shield pulses. One Vrax general, on the ground near the ruins of Thalin, barked into his comms. Retreat! Retreat to orbit! But it was too late. The Thunderchild's orbit-to-ground cannons fired again. This time, the explosion didn't just destroy the walkers. It created a shockwave that buried entire battalions of Vrax in collapsed stone and ash. From Earth's side, the Dreadnought had declared war, not for conquest, not for resources, but as a warning. Do not harm those under Terran protection. In the Chancellor's bunker, Varro turned. The skies above Zorath were no longer red. They were black, thick with the smoke of burning cities. Craters dotted the land like open wounds, and once green fields had turned into ash-covered deserts. The Vrax armada hovered above the planet like vultures over a dying animal. Their ships rained fire without mercy. Energy beams struck hospitals. Plasma bombs destroyed shelters. The Zorathians had no ships left, no defenses, no hope. Inside the capital's ruined palace, High Speaker Lurin crawled out from under fallen stone. His once golden robe was torn and blackened. His breathing was weak. We have no more time, he whispered, coughing dust. It was a mistake. We should never have trusted the Council. Suddenly, alarms screamed across what remained of the planetary communication network. Everyone still alive turned toward the skies. Zorath's orbital sensors, most of them destroyed days ago, had picked up something. Something massive. Something moving at impossible speed. A single signal cut through all the noise. A human voice. It echoed across the emergency channels. To the forces attacking Zorath, stand down. You have made a mistake. The Vrax fleet commander, General Zroth, stood tall inside his command ship. His mouth curled into a sneer. Is this a joke? He barked. Human transmissions? That species is extinct. But then space shifted. A tear opened in the stars. Not a wormhole, not a gate. Something else. From the darkness. A shape emerged blacker than the void around it. It had no visible lights, no energy signatures. It moved in complete silence. Vrax's fleet turned toward it. Over 100 ships aimed their weapons. Unknown vessel, Zroth growled. Identify yourself, or be destroyed. But there was no reply. Just a low hum so deep it rattled bones. Then light exploded from the object's surface, not from weapons. From runic lines' ancient markings, glowing blue, gold, and crimson, the humans had returned. But this was no simple ship. This was a Fate. Dreadnought-class war relic, something the galaxy had not seen in thousands of years. Earth's final weapons of war, long thought buried, forgotten. XROTH single quotes S sensors screamed warnings. Unknown weapon systems detected. Energy readings. Beyond measurable scale. Warning. Probability of survival. 0.01%. Fire everything. Zroth roared. The Vrax unleashed. Hell. Missiles. Lasers. Dark matter warheads. The human vessel didn't move. It didn't need to. A shield formed around it, a sphere of liquid light, and every weapon simply dissolved, melted. Warheads fell. Apart mid-flight. Then the Dreadnought answered. No beams. No explosions. Just a single pulse. A wave of energy rippled out like a quiet breath. Every Vrax ship caught in its path. Shut down, not destroyed. Silenced. Dead in space. Zroth's own ship began to freeze. The walls grew cold. Lights blinked out. His crew screamed as systems collapsed. He stood, helpless, staring at the ship that had not fired a single traditional weapon. This can't be, he whispered. Back on Zorath, the people watched in awe. The black sky began to glow, lit by the Dreadnought's markings. And the voice returned. Zorathians, we have received your call. You are not alone. The ground shook not from bombs, but from the sound of hope returning. High Speaker Lurin, still half buried in rubble, cried for the first time in decades. Not from pain, but from relief. They came, he whispered. By the stars, they really came. In orbit, smaller human ships emerged behind the Dreadnought escorts. Repair. Vessels, atmospheric craft. Earth had not just sent a ship. It had sent a fleet. But one question still hung in the air. Where had humanity been all this time? And why had they returned now? The answer was coming, and it would shake the entire galaxy. Hook for Part 8. The Vrax retreat, but someone else is watching. A hidden power that feared Earth's Dreadnought would one day rise again. And now it has. Aboard the Terran Dreadnought Valiant, Captain Saren stood before the main viewport, watching the stars blur as the ship dropped out of faster-than-light travel. In front of them was Zorath, a world burning under the Vrax siege. Fires lit the night side of the planet. Orbit was choked with wreckage and swarming enemy ships. But Valiant didn't slow. All systems online, weapons hot, said Lieutenant Roan. Saren nodded. Target nearest Vrax warship cluster. Let's remind them what Earth's thunder feels like. Without a single warning shot, Valiant opened fire. Massive ion lances burst from its cannons, piercing 3 enemy destroyers in seconds. The Vrax fleet scrambled in confusion. They had scanned the void. They had laughed at the old Earth signals. Now they were dying. On Zorath's surface, the terrified civilians stared at the sky. For the first time in weeks, Vrax fire stopped falling. A deep rumble echoed across the skies as Earth's Dreadnought came into full view, blotting out stars. In the Zorathian underground command bunker. Panic turned to awe. It's them, whispered General Tarek. The humans answered. Aboard the Vrax flagship, chaos erupted. That ship isn't in any registry. It's not possible. That class of warship was erased from history. Their commander snarled. Then kill it. Vrax ships regrouped and charged. Valiant didn't move. It waited. Captain Saren raised a hand. Now, hundreds of drone fighters poured from hidden ports on Valiant's hull. Each drone was faster, smarter, and deadlier than anything the Vrax had faced. The battle turned instantly. Vrax cruisers exploded. Frigates were torn apart mid-turn. The space around Zorath lit up with the fury of Earth's forgotten weapons. In the middle of the chaos, a strange transmission spread across open channels. A human voice, calm, cold, to the Vrax Empire. You ignored the cries of mercy. You chose to make war on the innocent. Earth has returned, and Earth does not forget. The message spread across systems. Civilizations paused. The Galactic Council, silent for so long now, sat stunned. Earth was alive, and it had not grown weaker. It had grown terrifying. On Zorath, the defenders gathered their courage. They pushed back from hiding, striking at Vrax positions now. Exposed by Earth's attack, General Tarek raised his rifle. "Today," he shouted, "we fight back, with Earth beside us." The citizens followed. Farmers picked up weapons. Children hid, but whispered stories about the ship in the sky. For the first time, hope took root again. Valiant dove lower into atmosphere. Its railguns barked thunder. Entire Vrax ground divisions vanished beneath its strikes. On the bridge, Lieutenant Rome checked sensors. Multiple Vrax reinforcements inbound. 9 warp signatures. Saren's eyes narrowed. Let them come. Valiant adjusted its orbit, preparing for the next wave. And in deep space, other Terran signals began to stir. Old AI cores lit up. Other dreadnoughts, once buried in black holes or hiding in dark systems, awoke. The call had gone out, and Earth did not send just one ship. It sent thunder. It sent fury, and the galaxy would never be the same again. The stars trembled. High above Zorath, the sky was burning not from the Vrax assault, but from something else. Something bigger. Something angrier. The Earth Dreadnought HFY Retribution had pushed through the final Vrax defense line. Its cannons glowed red-hot. Missile bays swung open like the arms of a wrathful god. And deep inside its hull, Admiral Reyes watched his crew with steady eyes. "Target the Vrax flagship," he said. "No more warnings." His voice was calm, controlled, but beneath it boiled fury that had simmered for centuries. Above them, the beast-weighted the Vrax flagship Judgment Claw hovered over the smoking cities of Zorath. Spiked and black like a floating fortress, it was the symbol of Vrax power. Millions had died under its command. Inside, War Commander Skarn barked orders in his native tongue, eyes glowing with pride and bloodlust. The Vrax had won every battle. For decades. No one dared challenge them until now. Sensors screamed across the Vrax bridge. An enormous heat signature approached. A Terran dreadnought was rising through the atmosphere. Slowly, deliberately. "It's still coming," whispered a Vrax officer, trembling. "It dares challenge us alone?" Skarn growled. "Then let it burn." The duel in the skies begins. TSV Retribution. Fired first. 10 heavy kinetic slugs ripped through space, each the size of a fighter jet. Shields flared around the Vrax flagship, cracking under the force. The ship shook, armor peeling away like old bark. The Vrax responded with a swarm of plasma bolts, but Retribution didn't dodge. It advanced through the firestorm like a walking tank. Some hits landed, parts of its hull flared. But it never stopped. It kept coming. Each Terran blast punched deeper into the Vrax armor. Deck by deck, systems began to fail. Fires broke out inside Judgment Claw. Hull breaches tore through entire compartments. Hundreds of Vrax were sucked into space. Admiral Reyes stood firm. "Focus fire on its reactor core," he ordered. The crew obeyed instantly. There was no fear, only purpose. Zorath watched in silence from the surface. Millions of Zorathians looked up. They had known only fear. Only flames. Only despair. But now they watched the heavens crackle with the wrath of Earth. For the first time, they saw their enemy flinch. Their children stopped crying. Their elders whispered ancient prayers. This time, in hope, even the skies seemed to grow quiet, watching the battle of Titans unfold. The final blow inside the Vrax flagship, Skarn stood bloodied but unbroken. He slammed his claw against the control panel. "Ram it," he screamed. "If we die, we take them with us." Engines flared. The Judgment Claw surged forward, intending to strike Retribution head-on, but Reyes was faster. "Helm, rise 20 degrees. Ready main cannon." The Dreadnought surged upward, narrowly avoiding the suicidal charge. As the Vrax ship passed beneath them, Admiral Reyes gave the final order. Fire. A blast of pure energy years of stored plasma, condensed into one shot, erupted from the Dreadnought. Spellydot, it tore through the Vrax flagship like paper. There was no explosion. Just light, and then silence. The Judgment Claw was gone atomized. Mid-air. The signal that shocked the galaxy news traveled fast. Across the galaxy. Governments and warlords received the same encrypted transmission. A live feed of the Vrax flagship's destruction. A human voice spoke over it. "This is Admiral Reyes of the Earth Defense Command. We have answered Zorath's call. The Vrax are no longer untouchable. We stand with the broken. We stand with the ignored. Earth has returned." It was short, but it shook empires. On a council, stationed far from the battle, one ambassador whispered, "They weren't supposed to still exist." Another answered, "They weren't supposed to remember." But they did. Aftermath, the Zorathian sky was quiet. For the first time in weeks, there were no screams, no flames, only the slow, graceful orbit of a single Terran dreadnought. Zorathian citizens stood on rooftops, fields and hills, watching the ship that had saved them. They didn't understand how or why Earth had responded, but they didn't care. Only knew one thing: they weren't alone. On board the Retribution, Admiral Reyes stood at the viewport, arms behind his back. The crew was silent, eyes locked on the peaceful world below. "Send medical teams down," Reyes said. "Rebuild what we can." "And the Vrax?" a lieutenant asked. Reyes turned, his voice colder than the void. "We're not done." The skies above Zorath were black with the wreckage of war. Vrax warships drifted in burning pieces, their proud cruisers shattered by Earth's dreadnought. But the battle wasn't over. Deep beneath Zorath's oceans, the last Vrax command base still operated, and it had one final weapon. Inside the dreadnought Resolute Wrath, Commander Elias gripped the railing of the war bridge. The sensors showed a massive energy spike beneath the planet. "Talk to me," he said sharply. Lieutenant Mara turned, pale-faced. "Sir, it's a planet cracker. Old Vrax tech. They're going to destroy Zorath." Gasps echoed around the bridge. "They'd rather scorch the planet than let us win," whispered Ensign Dev. Commander Elias didn't blink. "Not while we're breathing." He slammed a fist onto the command console. "Full power to core drills. We're going under." The dreadnought groaned as it adjusted course, not into space, but into the planet itself. Massive plasma tethers launched from the hull, burrowing into Zorath's crust. The ship began to dive, using fusion thrusters and tunneling drills. Crew held on as the ship shook violently. "How deep is that base?" Elias barked. 50 kilometers, Mara replied, "and falling fast. Then we go 60. Underground, in the Vrax command base?" Warlord Zek hissed in fury as he watched the human ship descend. "They follow us into the dirt," he growled. "Disgusting creatures." A junior officer spoke nervously. "Warlord, our countdown is near completion. If we activate the core, even the humans cannot survive. Then do it." Alarms flashed red. The planet's mantle began to heat. Magma shifted, reacting to the foreign machines. But before the Vracs could finish their work, Earth struck. The Dreadnought's core cannon activated. A weapon of last resort, powered by collapsed star matter, fired straight through the crust. The blast hit the Vrac's bunker like a divine hammer. The ground exploded in a pillar of white fire. The sea boiled. Earth's wrath burned a tunnel through the Vrax's final hope. Commander, Elias watched the energy spike vanish from the screen. Target neutralized, Mara confirmed. No life signs left. On the surface of Zorith, the skies cleared. No more fire. No more screams. The remaining Vrax ships tried to flee, but Earth's support fleet arrived in full force. Frigates, destroyers, and battlecruisers surrounded the orbit. There would be no escape. Humanity's revenge was complete. Later, in a great hall built from the wreckage, Zorithian leaders gathered before the humans. The high voice of Zorith, old and trembling, stepped forward. Tears welled in his eyes. "You came," he said. Commander Elias bowed his head respectfully. "You asked." The old leader looked around at his people being fed, at his skies no longer burning. Why? After so many years of silence, why help us? Elias paused. Then he looked the alien in the eyes and said, "Because when we needed help, no one came. We promised. Never again." Transmission begins. Galactic Council Archives Earth broadcast. Message to all species. This is Commander Elias of Earth's First Response Fleet. We heard the Zorithians cry for help, and we answered. Let this be known. To all tyrants, your days of unchecked war are over. To all cowards, your silence speaks louder than your words. And to all who suffer in the dark, know this. Earth hears you. Transmission ends. Epilogue. The Zorithians rebuilt. With Earth's engineers and medics, they restored their cities and their spirit, and the name human became holy to them. Vracs were gone, not just defeated, erased from the stars. And the Dreadnought? It returned to deep space, silent once more, but its sensors stayed awake, always listening. Because Earth doesn't ignore a cry for help. Not anymore.